How to pause without losing momentum, even if you're known as the productive one. If you're a professional woman who's nonstop busy, always moving, always solving, always producing, and you're afraid that if you slow down, you'll lose your edge, this conversation is for you. Today, I'm going to show you how to pause without losing momentum, even if you're known as the productive one. Hey, friend, I'm glad you're here. Come on in for that conversation with Natalynn. I'm Natalynn, and I coach professional women who want more agency over how they live, lead, or work. Women who want growth, advancement, transformation without overwhelm, or losing themselves in the process. Now, if you're like most women I have these conversations with, you're going to experience some aha moments. Aha moments are when you think, that's good. I'm going to do that. Now, you may also have some ouch moments. And ouch moments are when you feel it in your body and immediately think, ouch, that's me. Well, the good news is that both moments are good for you because both can move you to take strategic action. And without action, there's no traction. Without traction, no momentum. And without momentum, you don't get to experience transformation. So I don't know if this is for you, but if you're open to having some aha moments, snatch moments, and to gaining some tools you can use to set your intention and energy in motion, stay with me. So today, let's get to the real issue. And by the way, before we go deep, let me ask you something. When did productivity become your protection? And I ask because high performing women, we don't struggle with effort. We struggle with giving ourselves permission to pause. You struggle with stopping, not because you don't know how, because stopping feels unsafe. Taking a pause feels uncomfortable. So you're operating on productivity at a level of 1,000. And you see that consistency of motion and productivity, you see that as creating your momentum. And momentum makes you visible. Momentum makes you relevant. Momentum makes you needed. So even when something feels slightly misaligned, you don't pause to assess. You keep the pace. You keep pushing. You tell yourself, it's fine. I can handle it. Let me just move this forward. But that pushing harder, it doesn't fix misalignment. It buries it. So let's be honest about that. The truth is that sometimes the pace you're pushing is just busyness. And being busy is not the same as being productive. Being busy is not excellence. Sometimes busy is avoidance dressed up as a level of excellence. And I'll be honest with you. There was a season in my own career when everything looked strong on paper. Deadlines met, projects moving, people relying on me. But there was an initiative I kept accelerating, being really busy around. And I felt deeply that something about it just didn't sit right. But instead of pausing to assess, I created more activity around it. I added more meetings, more strategy, more output. And speed and activity felt powerful. But the truth was that all of the activity around it was covering my discomfort. You see, slowing down would have forced me to admit that the structure I was operating inside of, it had shifted and I had not made the right adjustments. So I kept moving, hoping for a self-correction, so to speak, through the work. And that's when I began to realize Busy can hide misalignment, but it doesn't make misalignment disappear. Just because you're nonstop and on it doesn't make it come together. And, it's interesting. There's a concept in performance psychology called action bias. And action bias is the tendency to favor doing something over doing nothing, even when waiting would produce a better outcome. And high achievers, like yourself, are especially prone to it. Why? Because high achievers are rewarded for motion and results. You know that. Quick responses, immediate decisions, constant output. And over time, your nervous system associates speed with safety. So when you consider pausing, it doesn't feel natural or neutral. It feels risky. But research also shows that decision quality actually improves when that cognitive load decreases. And cognitive load decreases when you create the space to ruminate. Space improves judgment, and judgment protects long-term momentum. Speed, on the other hand, protects your short-term identity. And that's the difference. The reality is, you do not need to pause because you're tired. You need to pause because you might be running in a state of misalignment. And running in a state of misalignment eventually costs more than pausing ever will. When women don't pause intentionally, pause shows up anyway. How? As exhaustion, frustration, disengagement, dis-ease, missteps, or even as that sudden feeling of, I can't do this anymore. On the other hand, you have intentional pause. Intentional pause is power. If it shows up on its own, it's a forced pause. And a forced pause is consequence. Power or consequence. You get to choose. And let's think about it this way. Zoom in for a minute. Think about a pilot. Before takeoff, there's a checklist. Even if they've flown that aircraft 100 times, even if they know the route by heart, they pause. Not because they doubt their ability, because precision protects flight. Momentum without calibration creates risk. And so pause is that calibration. Pause enables reflection, awareness, precision. A purposeful pause can increase safety and reduce risk. So, how do you pause without losing momentum? Let's make this practical. First, I want you to separate urgency from importance. Not everything needs to feel immediate. Not everything that even feels immediate is important. Second, implement a 24-hour rule for non-urgent commitments. If it's not urgent, don't respond immediately. Say, you must respond. Let me look at that and get back to you. And take the full 24 hours to respond. You're going to notice how uncomfortable that feels. And that level of discomfort, it's information. It's data, so don't ignore it. Third, before you say yes to jumping into something and getting all into the middle of mix, Ask yourself, am I doing this because this is aligned or because not being in the mix feels uncomfortable, unsafe? And fourth and final, when that sense of urgency arises around you while you're actually in that mix, pause long enough to ask, what am I not examining? Because I'm busy. In other words, what am I overlooking? My friend, pause is not withdrawal. It's actually strategic positioning and a practice of self leadership. I know that a lot of high performing women equate slowing down or pausing with falling behind. And I want to reframe this belief. If I step back for a minute, I'll fall behind. No. Mm-mm. Replace it with, if I pause, I may prevent a costly misstep. Because this is the truth. Productivity is not output alone. We know this. It's also the quality of judgment, and pauses improve judgment. So, as we go full circle on this, I have 3 questions for you to consider, to reflect on. Question number 1, ask yourself and be honest. What does pausing threaten about how I see myself? And remember, the goal here is to get grounded in clarity. Question number 2, where am I pushing simply to maintain momentum? And the final question, what decision would benefit from space instead of speed? And as you reflect on your responses this week, I'm wondering if you can also handle one action step. One action step this week. If you can choose one urgent, no. If you can choose one non urgent commitment and simply pause, step back. Don't respond immediately. Let that discomfort rise and stay on pause until that discomfort passes. Then decide how you will respond and engage. Momentum built from alignment sustains. Momentum built from fear ultimately breaks down. I want you to practice the pause to prioritize what and who gets your immediacy and what and who gets responded to within a time frame that actually aligns with the realities of the request. Okay? So, my friend, that's it for today. Don't leave this as a theory. Practice it. If you haven't done so already, please like and subscribe. Take a peek at my links in the description. I post new videos every Sunday, Tuesday, and Friday evening, and we will revisit this conversation again. So join me and bring a friend along. I appreciate you, and I will see you next time for that conversation with Natalynn.